All right, I'm going to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to She Rose Anyway. This is the podcast where women tell the truth about what happened, what it took to survive, and how they found the courage to rebuild. I'm your host, Bea Baylor. Today's conversation is about something many women know all too well: surviving for so long that survival becomes the normal. You feel normal when you're surviving. See, you learn to keep going. You learn how to show up 1000%. You learn how to be strong for everyone else. But there comes a point when you have to say to yourself a different question. I survived, but I have healed from it. And today's episode is called When Survival Was All You Knew, Learning to Heal What You Had to Survive. And my guest, I'm super excited, y'all. My guest is LaToya Thompson. And today we're going beyond of what happened. We're talking about the survival mode. And this woman, she can do all of that about surviving. She knows what it takes to finally stop living in a constant defense and how healing can open the door to a different world. Miss LaToya Thompson is Jamaican born, Bronx raised author, speaker. She's resilient and now living in Mount Vernon, New York. She's an author, and her memoir, I cannot wait for her to share, Unchosen and Unprotected. Learning to survive before learning to heal. And through her writing and public conversations, LaToya shares her journey through abandonment, foster care, young mother, trauma, survival, and healing. And her work is centered on breaking generational cycles, reclaiming your voice, and reminding others that survival does not have to be the final chapter or the final story. I love the fact that the final story is never over. You're going to keep writing. Let's bring to the stage and let's welcome LaToya Thompson to She Rose Anyway. Hi, LaToya.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You're so welcome, and thank you for trusting us with your story. We do not take this lightly, LaToya, because LaToya, before we talk about what you had to do to survive, tell us who you are today.
LaToya today, I'm a mom, I'm a survivor, I'm a grandmother, I'm an esthetician, I'm a wife, and I'm living in peace.
Okay, all of those are so very important. But LaToya, there's a difference between surviving something and healing from it. When did you first realize that you had to survive, but you had not fully healed? Really touch on that, LaToya.
So it takes, for me, survival. I had to do what I had to do. And my friends would always say, you're always in survival mode. You always got to keep going. And when I look at the life that my friends live in, other people around me, I realize that there's a distinct difference of how I was living. And that's when I quickly realized that I'm not living, I'm surviving. I had to protect myself. I had to guide myself. I was my own safe space. So with that being me being defensive of who I am and protecting everything around me was when I know I'm always on guard. I'm not living. I the trust was broken. Just about everyone seems like they was out to hurt me. And I was just always on edge. I was just, oh, you come too close. I'm wondering, why are you here? Why do you care? I was just always on edge.
Take us back, LaToya, to when you were 13 years old and coming to America from Jamaica. What did that feel like?
Mixed emotions. Excited to finally see this great country, but scared and terrified of who I was coming to. And because I was coming to my mom, but we don't have a relationship. And leaving all that I know was terrifying. Leaving the one person that I love dearly and trust, which is my grandmother. So that was terrifying. And I didn't fully process or understand. And I felt like no one asked me if I wanted to go to America. So I was upset about that. Um, it was scary. It was really scary.
I'm so sure of that. And so, were there things you were carrying, LaToya, like emotional, that the people around you could not see? Like
Absolutely.
people.
At that
Mm,
point, I had held everything in and I didn't trust anyone. I was an emotional wreck, to say the least. Um, I had baggages at 13 and it was scary. I felt like, buckle up. You're about to fight for your life.
yeah. Yeah, you just said what did the survival mode look like in your everyday life? Because there was a mixture of fear, paranoia, trust, disbelief. How did all of those emotions come together? And what did survival mode look like?
Whew. Survival on a day to day is being strong for me to process my day. Um, Guidance, self assurance, while still have to watch my back, and I had to listen to my thoughts. I had to listen more and speak less. I had no voice because I'm from a culture where when you're a child, you speak only when spoken to. So I had no voice. I didn't have a say so it was very difficult. I was in a new country, and a lot of people didn't understand me at the time because the cultures are so different. I have a thick accent at the time that they didn't fully process it or understand it. And there were people that I've never seen and languages I've never heard. So it was all just so overwhelming for me.
I get it.
Makes me high.
Yeah. I could feel the emotion in your voice. Latoya, I'm going to take you through my five pillars of rising, and my first one is going to be the burning because I have, I came up with all of these pillars that you have to burn before you can get to the next phase. So I want you to take me back to a season when survival became necessary and what was happening in your life at that time.
Survival became necessary when I lived with my mom. We never clicked. It was never a mother and daughter relationship. It felt cold. It's living with a stranger that I don't trust, that probably don't trust me. And we spoke only when a questions was asked. It was one of the hardest days of my life.
This was your biological mother,
Yes.
Latoya? Was there a moment when you knew your life had changed being with her, or were there just still lots of trauma being in her presence?
We have always been estranged from I was 2 years old. As far back as I can remember, we were always estranged. So, and I think with us being estranged and she not doing the things a mother would do to a child, and the comfort and the love and the care and the compassion, I wasn't receiving that. So it was cold for me. My walls was already built. I already knew that this wasn't a good situation for me to be in. I was hoping for the best, but I was constantly being let down with the worst.
But you saw yourself being strong, and that became your identity, that
Absolutely.
you had to be the strong one.
Yes. I had to be strong for myself. I had to keep telling myself that this is not the end. That even though I wasn't sure it would ever be better days, because there were days when I feel like I can't go anymore. But I had to keep encouraging myself because I was all I got.
When did Survivor teach you that later became difficult to unlearn? LaToya, I'm okay. When did you say I'm okay and I don't need to be in survival mode? Was it when you left your mom, or you still was with her, or because you were a child when all of these things were happening to you?
Yes. Survival taught me how to make it through. And there are days today that sometimes I'm questioning myself. I'm an overthinker, and I get scared and I get nervous, and I taught myself out of something that's good. And today's world, I am bold. Even if I get nervous, I'm gonna go for it. But sometimes I gotta remind myself, you're no longer that girl. You're no longer that 13-year-old girl that don't have a voice. You're no longer that 13-year-old girl that no one cares about. It's a daily, I have to encourage myself daily. I often say the hardest thing to do is to get up out of bed in the morning, because I got to give myself that pep talk, so you don't just come out of survival mode. It's step by step, it's stages.
Yeah, I could see that you're always like on guard. You have to be on guard.
I am 43. For 35 years of my life, I was in survival mode.
That's hard to unlearn. That's very
Yeah.
difficult to
Yes,
unlearn that. Uh,
absolutely.
I agree. There's a wave of other things that you endured, foster care. If you're comfortable, LaToya, elaborate on that. How did you get to the system of foster care?
So I went through three different high schools because I was a fighter. I'm in a new country. Well, I was alone. I feel alone. I don't look like everyone else. My sense of style, which I didn't have, was kind of different from the American kids. And you was gonna pick on me, but I was gonna beat you up. And
That's normal.
because because I was carrying so many things at that time, so many emotions. That was my answer. At the time, I would fight till I'm tired, but you wasn't going to beat me up. And I think through that, I've gained respect from the kids around, because I was no longer the girl they would pick on. They would tell you, oh, that Jamaican girl would beat you up. And I joined a gang. The gang became my family. And I remember one particular weekend, it was like a gang rival at school. And there was four different gangs that was included. And people got hurt, people got stabbed, and parents were called. I remember they called my mom, and it was just like, I don't care. She don't care about me. It's just gonna be, I'm gonna be suspended. She probably gonna tell me don't talk to her, something like that. And I don't know what the conversation was between her and the dean for the school. But I remember they coming to get me out of my class, and she said, you're not going home because it's not safe. And in my mind, I'm like, duh, it has never been safe. I remember, you know, I didn't know who social workers were. And I remember they come in to, do their routine and talk to me what it is like at home. Do you have your own room? Like all those great things. And I remember the lady was like, you can't go home. And as scary as that sound, I was relieved. I was relieved that I would never see that lady again. I was relieved that my life was about to change and whatever direction it goes, it got to be better than what I was dealing with. Still scared out my mind, still traumatized, but was very hopeful.
Wow. That's a lot to unpack for. And how old were you,
I
LaToya?
was 13.
Oh my gosh, such, yeah,
I was
that's very.
13 going to be 14 or
How
was
long
already
did you, how long did you stay in foster care?
until I was an adult
Separated from your mom, right?
by choice.
Right.
Absolutely. Um Throughout my teenage year I wanted nothing to do with her. I had a family. Um the gang was my family. I had friends. And I knew if you didn't want me, I didn't want you. And I remember like telling my social worker, like, did she ask for visitation? And she's like, no. And I'm like, and I'm fine with that.
So we have gone, LaToya, we've gone through the burning, and
Yeah.
you were past that. Now I want to talk a little bit about the pause, because was there ever a moment that you just finally stopped long enough to realize how much you had actually been carrying in your little heart, on your heart? Did you ever stop for a moment to say, wow, some of it was your choice, some of it was environmental and fear and no family, no, sustainability? Did you ever stop to realize?
Not until I became a mom. I think at that time, I had no recollection. I had no knowledge of what it should be or what it should feel like. I was so guarded and cut off. So no, not at all.
So that was pretty much a pause. Like, did you really feel guilty of after you had your baby, like you're slowing down, you're choosing yourself, you're choosing your baby? Was there a time in your life that that this came up?
Of me feeling guilty?
Yes, of
No,
slowing down.
no.
So
I knew right away that I wanted to give my children what I never received. And I knew if all fails, they would be loved more than they would be smothered in love. Because that's something that I have yearned for throughout my years.
you finally said, I've got, I'm pregnant. I'm getting ready to have a baby. I cannot keep living like this in a gang. Did that ever cross your mind?
Yes. Yes. It was a situation where I had my son, and I spoke of this in the book. I had my son, and I saw an ex arrival gang leader. And I remember this thing going and well, but then I looked down and my baby boy is right there, and I'm like, not today, not ever. And that's when I had to really start setting boundaries for myself and be like, listen, you have a whole life to protect, no longer just you.
Yes.
And but in the real world it doesn't work like that, especially in the gangs. It doesn't just go away like that, right? So
Right.
um a few words were exchanged, but nothing physical. And that's when I know right then and there I had to make a change.
Goodness.
It's not for me, for my son.
So, which is the next pillar? When did you first know that you had to take some real steps towards healing? And healing is the third pillar. And when did you say, I got to give this up, or did you grieve, or was anyone there? Did you have to do forgiveness? What did healing really feel like, LaToya?
Ooh, healing feels like that.
Yes, yes. Say
I
that.
had to give myself permission to feel. That was a big one for me. I've been numb for so many years. I would easily tell you, I don't care. That doesn't bother me. I don't care. That was my goal line. But when I began healing, I felt like I was losing me. And I was. I was shedding the old me in order to bring forth the new me. And it was rough. I would see people and immediately their presence would trigger me. I would have to I remember saying healing is not for punks because it's serious business, it's hard work, and it's not a one size fit all journey. It's a day to day hard work in progress. I'm still healing.
It's
It's
every day.
literally one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But when you do your research and realize why you're healing yourself and why this has to be done, then the loads become a little bit lighter. I knew I had to heal in order to be in rooms like I'm in with you today, in order to give my children an example, in order to be free. Because carrying around those baggage is not easy. Healing looks different for me as the day goes, but it's a work in progress.
Sometimes you may wake up and you feel like you're moving backwards instead of moving forward. I know that's what healing felt like because everything comes back up. You start thinking about, well, she did this, or if I could have done that, or anger or resentment. All those things come back up, LaToya.
Yes,
Would you agree?
yes,
Right.
absolutely. You know,
Blaming other people.
for years, I don't participate in family functions because I'm easily triggered. I don't do the Thanksgiving. I don't do the barbecues because it's just too much for me. And I learned that that's okay. If it's going to protect my peace, then that's okay. And like I said, the hardest things for me is to get up out of bed in the morning. I have to do my affirmation. It's a process for me because I've lived so many years in survival mode that I am relearning myself and who's around me. So it's hard. It's very hard.
LaToya, I'm going to take you a little deeper because you already elaborated on this. And I appreciate you sharing that with us. And I know that was very, very painful to go back to that little 13-year-old girl that felt alone or felt no one loved her. And you sought uh, um, other people to find that sort of love. But now, LaToya, come closer because you're in the rediscovery of recognizing who you really are, who you be, right? And when did you begin to recognize yourself? Like this is the real LaToya. And what part of LaToya did you find that you had buried this beautiful person underneath survival? I know that's a lot to unpack.
Yeah. I had to start with the way I look. Ew. Let that negative stuff and I struggled with it. And when I started doing therapy, I had to write nice things about myself. And it would be the hardest thing for me to do. But I remember sitting in front of a mirror and going, "You're beautiful." And it was easy to say because I didn't believe it at the time. And my therapist was like, "Nope, that's not going to work for me. I need you to tell me what's beautiful about you." And I would say all negative things. My eyes are too small. My nose is too wide. My lips are too full. And I remember there was a time when my son would say, "Oh, mommy, you're so beautiful." And I would cry because I, and I remember I had terrible acne growing up. And I remember just starting with the mindset because mindset is so powerful and affirmations are so powerful. And I started to believe it. You are beautiful.
Yeah.
You're uniquely different. And I started to appreciate my eyes. I started to appreciate my texture, my health, my skin, my hair. And I started to say, wait a minute, you're beautiful. And I started to build myself up because back then I had a self esteem you could walk on. When I started making time for me outside of my kids, outside of my friends, outside of the family, but just sit with LaToya, there was so much that I truly love about me and things that I discovered that people appreciated more than I did, you know? And I learned how to fall in love with me wholeheartedly. Not just love me, but to be in love with me. Appreciate my eyes, my lips, my nose, my small ears, my round face. And those are the things that I love. I love there's so much now that I love and I'm look back sometimes and I'm like, girl, but I had to sit with me and truly figure out who I am. I didn't want to always be seen as the strong girl or the girl that's always mad or the one with a ton of baggage. I wanted to be free of it all. And in order to do that, I first had to set some boundaries for myself and fall in love with myself and know the ins and out of me, what makes me trigger, what makes me calm, what makes me smile, what is it I like? What do I want to listen? What do I want to feed my mind daily? And once I started understanding how that works, the process was so easy for me to fall in love and know that you are a purpose child and you're different from everyone else. And that's what makes you you. That what makes you LaToya Thompson.
And you're beautiful.
You.
Yes. Victoria, we have gone through all of these stages, and you talked about rebuilding, and that is, I want to say, the fourth stage, the rebuild. Oh, and what did rebuilding your life actually look like? You have done so much work. You've done the work, you've done therapy, and you've done the healing. Did you have to change any of your relationships? What did that look
All of
like? Boundaries, you talked about that. And when did you just say, I'm done, I'm not tolerating this? You stopped tolerating and you just started looking and choosing you differently. Unpack all of that in the rebuild. You've done the work, LaToya, but tell other women what they have to do to rebuild. And you got to be honest. Can you elaborate? That's a tough one there.
absolutely. I was a people pleaser. I was the friend that buys my friend. I was the person that buys my I do lavish stuff for them to truly like me. And I would feel horrible when I didn't receive it back. And not that I did it for you to do it back to me, but I'm like, I'm always the giver. I'm always the one picking up the phone and checking on you. And, you know, you could call on me. And it became a point where it became draining. And I really, once I started to do the work, I realized that, wait a minute, these people are only around me because of what I could do for them.
That's a whole
And,
nother conversation.
and that becomes heavy. And
The-
I had to set boundaries, firm ones. You didn't call me, I didn't call you. And I remember a time when the phone was dry. I could literally tell you who is on my line or who is calling me. That's how dry my phone was. Everyone disappeared. And I remember getting into the Bible and the Word. And I knew right then and there that if they disappeared, they wasn't the right fit. They weren't my friends. And even in my relationships, um, I was always the, well, if he's cheating, I don't want to know. I was that woman. And I would say anyways, because I felt like I wanted you to know that I'm different. So it was force. Yeah. And once I started loving me, I started realizing I don't have to do this. The right ones are going to stick regardless. This is not the friendship I want. This is not the person I, and it was hard. I've let go some friends of 15 years, but it was a one-sided friendship. I was the friend. They were the takers. And it hurt at first, if I'm going to be honest. But now standing in my shoes today, I didn't lose anything. I can't lose what I never had. And I never had true, genuine friendship with those people. That man didn't see me as his wife, and that's okay. And again, I had to rebuild by myself. And it was hard work. It was, at one point I was standing alone. And it reminded me of the 13-year-old girl all by herself. And then I would brush it off and goes, well, I'm a loner. I've been doing this. But the truth is it hurts. No one wants to be alone. I sit in it. I process it. Now I have the choice to say, hey, if the friendship is one-sided, see you later. Because I'm stronger. At this point, I'm definitely resilient. And I'm not going to take anything if it's not authentic. Whether that's relationship, whether that's friendship, I would be scared of losing people. Now I'm scared of losing myself in people. And I've done that for so many years. I'm not willing to compromise or sacrifice myself no more. Not even for my children.
Think you better say that again, LaToya, because the last pillar is the rising, right? And you definitely surpassed the rising, but what are you most proud of about the woman you have become now?
Ooh, there is so many things. I'm proud that I'm proud that I know how to use my voice and that my voice matters. I am proud of the woman I am today, the wife, the mother. Sometimes I look at myself in awe, like, you did that for real, for real. I'm proud of my story didn't end where my pain stopped. I am proud that I've overcome. I'm proud that I could show my children that if you stand for something, You will rise. But if you fall for anything, you're going to stay down there. I
Right
am
there,
proud
there.
that I am a role model to so many. When I get the stories and somebody goes, "Oh, I read your book," and oh my God, or they're similar. I'm proud of that. I am proud of when my kid goes, "You rock. You the real OG for real." I am proud of that. I'm proud to be the odds of what society said I would become. There is so much proud moment for me. Whew, we'll be here forever. But I'm really proud of how far I've come, the work I've done. And I know this is just scratching the surface for me, but I am proud of who LaToya Thompson is today.
I'm super, super proud of you too, LaToya. So let's get into what are you building in? You're in another chapter, LaToya. And so what are you building in your next chapter? And what does rising really mean to you now?
In my next chapter, I am building the family that I've always yearned for. I am building everything me. I'm continuing my writing journey. I am, I feel like I have so much more to do. I still have the time to do it. There is so much I want to get into. I I I want to accomplish so much more.
It's it's in the works, LaToya, but I want to take this opportunity to let you finish this sentence. I survived it, but I began to heal when. Answer that.
I survived it, but I began to heal when I started living out loudly.
I love that. I feel that.
Yeah.
Thank you
I
for
was
that.
exist I wasn't living. I was existing.
Wow. I need you to finish this sentence. She rose anyway because.
She rose anyways because I know who I am and where I'm coming from. I now know who I am, where I'm going, because the past shapes my future. And I'm going to rise again and rise again, and I'm gonna keep rising.
LaToya, I'd like for you. Um, yeah, she rose anyway. Woo. Um, you have a message to women who are still surviving, and there are women who are listening right now who is still in survival mode. What would you want her to
I
hear?
would say to them, take the blame off yourself. You're not responsible for the traumas that you received. However, I need you to take your healing day by day, minute by minute, second by second, because that's the part that you are truly responsible for. And healing is not for them, it's not for the person who hurts you, it's for you.
Beautiful.
You got it. I need you to sit in it. I need you to process it. And I need you to know that this too will be the past. You will
I love
rise
it.
again.
What would you tell the woman who thinks being strong means she has to carry everything alone? And you did that, LaToya. So, what would you say to a woman who thinks being strong, I got to take all of this, I got to do all of this?
You don't let somebody in. No man is an island. We all need someone. Create your own safe space. I, I too think I could do it alone. No, I can't. We all need each other more than we really think. I know trust might be a big factor for some people, but you have to find someone that you truly, truly could trust and build from there. Because you can't, I promise you, you can't do it.
It,
It's too much to
it's too much. It really is, LaToya. And what are you giving yourself permission to do in this next chapter? Like, and elaborate a little bit about what you would say to other women to give themselves permission.
I'm giving myself a few things that I've struggled with throughout the years. I'm giving myself permission to love boldly and freely and openly. I'm giving myself permission to trust, to give someone a chance. Until they hurt you, give them a chance. Let your walls down. Not everyone is here to hurt you. I'm giving myself permission to keep growing. Don't box yourself in. Step out. You got this. I'm giving myself permission to live, to truly. I'm giving myself permission to touch peace because I'm living, but I need to do it with peace. I'm giving myself permission to forgive, to truly forgive, to fully forgive. I'm giving myself permission to
Mhm. What was the last word, LaToya?
forgive.
You forgive. Okay. Wow, that's really deep, LaToya. Thank you,
Yes,
thank you for being willing to talk about your story. Not
absolutely.
only talk about it, you talked about what you survived, but you also talked about what it took to begin to heal. Some people don't even want to get to that stage. They feel they want to just stay in that space, but I think a lot of women understand how to survive. We know how to show up. We know how to keep going. We know how to carry everybody else's pain and their mess. But healing asks something different of us, right?
Yes. And it's not a one size fit all. Everybody healings look a little different. And that's okay.
Yes, it
You got
does.
to you got to do it at your own pace. There's still parts of my story that I'm struggle with talking about. So it's not a one size fit all, like I said. It's a daily work. It's like getting up to go to work daily, but you gotta show up and you gotta be willing to do the work.
LaToya, you have a book. Tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about your book and where can we get access to this beautiful book?
So it's unprotected, and this is it. And it's about survival, abandonment, trauma, belonging, you name it, it's in this book. Guidance, protection, love. Every child deserves loves. Every child deserves to feel safe. And this book is truly my whole world. This particular book is from the age of 13 to 21. So it's through my teenage years, starting my adult life. And it's so much to unpack in this book that most would wonder how I'm still standing and still smiling. But the grace of God does it every time. And you could get it on Amazon, or you could go. I'm all things LaToya Thompson on Amazon, or you could get it on my stand store, Toya Golden, and you could purchase it there. I'm gonna put it on all digital platforms. By the end of this month, it will be on all digital platforms. But for now, you can get the signed copy at Toy Golden on Stan Store, and you can get it on Amazon at LaToya Thompson.
How much is your book on Amazon?
So the hardcover is $29.99. The paperback is $19.99.
Guys, you heard it from the greatest person I know. LaToya Thompson has her book on Amazon. I'd love for every woman who have a story or in a healing phase or in survival mode, stop by Amazon and pick up a copy of LaToya's book, download it, get the hard copy, get the soft copy. Um, and LaToya, you are available for book signings, conversations.
Uh-huh.
Wonderful. So, LaToya, thank you because healing asks us to stop, to feel, to release, to forgive, to set boundaries, and sometimes to meet ourselves all over again. To the woman who is listening today, surviving may have been necessary. It may have been the only thing you need to know to do at that time, but survival does not have to become a permanent address. You are allowed to heal. You're allowed to rest. You are allowed to choose peace. You are allowed to build differently. You are allowed to become a woman who are no longer simply surviving her life. You can rise, you can reclaim yourself, and you can rebuild yourself. I'm Bea Baylor, and this is She Rose Anyway. Until next time, rise, reclaim, rebuild, and go and get that book on Amazon. I will be getting my copy. LaToya, this is not the ending of LaToya. There's more to unpack, and she will be part of my podcast in helping women to heal, helping women to rise and reclaim, because you've only heard half of her story. And so until next time, we'll see you. Thank you, LaToya, and we'll have you back again. We
You're
appreciate you.
very, you're very welcome. Thank you for having me. This is a pleasure.
You did a beautiful job. Thank you.